If your mind feels like your worst enemy, you're not alone. Most people don't realize it, but the biggest battle we face happens silently, right between our ears. In the next few minutes, I'll give you 5 proven steps to stop negative thoughts instantly. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because you deserve peace, clarity, and the confidence to take control of your life starting today. Most people don't even realize when negativity has crept in. It's subtle. It doesn't kick down the door, it quietly slides in like a whisper in the back of your mind saying, "You're not good enough," "You always mess things up," or "This won't work out for you." The first step to stopping negative thoughts dead in their tracks is awareness. Because you cannot fight what you don't see. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt anxious, defeated, or heavy, and you couldn't even figure out why? That's not random. That's the result of unconscious thoughts looping in the background, influencing how you feel and how you act. Awareness is about catching those loops in real time. It's like turning on the lights in a dark room. Suddenly, what felt like a monster in the corner is just a pile of clothes. But you don't get that clarity unless you flip the switch. Now here's the challenge. Our brains are wired for survival, not happiness. That means we tend to scan for danger, for what might go wrong, for what's missing. That survival instinct can be helpful. But in today's world, it often shows up as overthinking, self-doubt, and inner criticism. Your brain thinks it's protecting you, but it's actually putting you in a mental prison. So awareness means calling that out in the moment. It's recognizing, wait, that's not the truth. That's just a thought. And I don't have to believe it. You don't have to go to war with every thought. You just have to notice it. Imagine standing at a train station. Thoughts are like trains passing by. Some of them are helpful. Some are destructive. You don't have to hop on every one. Awareness gives you the power to choose. This thought, not today. And that simple pause, just that split-second recognition, can change your entire emotional state. The key is slowing down just enough to hear the thought behind the feeling. Because the truth is, every emotion we experience is preceded by a thought, even if we didn't catch it. That frustration you feel, it's not just how you feel. It came from something your mind said before you even noticed. Maybe it was, "I'm falling behind," or "They don't respect me." But if you didn't pause to catch that thought, you just accept the emotion and carry it. That's how negativity spreads, silently and unchallenged. And look, I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying you can suddenly become a Zen master overnight. What I am saying is this: if you start catching your thoughts just once a day, even once a week, you are retraining your mind to work for you, not against you. That's progress. That's power. You don't need perfection. You just need awareness. That's where the door opens. That's where the shift begins. So the next time you find yourself spiraling, whether it's after reading a comment, looking at your bank account, or replaying a conversation from years ago, stop and ask yourself, what thought just ran through my mind? And don't judge it. Don't shame yourself. Just name it. That alone robs it of its power. Because what you can name, you can tame. And this is something you can start doing right now. You don't need a therapist in the room or a 10-step program. You just need to practice catching one negative thought and pausing. That's it. Don't try to fix it yet. Don't try to reframe it. We'll get to that. But first, just notice it. Hear it. Acknowledge it. Because once you do, it can't operate in the dark anymore. Think about how different your life would be if you caught that one lie your mind keeps repeating. That one old belief that says you're not enough, or you'll never succeed, or people will leave when they see the real you. What if you could interrupt that? What if you could shine a light on it and say, "No, I see you now, and I'm not giving you the mic anymore." This isn't about positive thinking. This is about powerful awareness. Because you don't need more hype. You need more clarity. And clarity starts when you stop running with every thought and start observing them like a calm, confident leader. You're the one in charge now, not your fears, not your insecurities, not your old programming. So today, make a commitment to tune in. Just once. That's all it takes to start. One moment of awareness. One decision to catch the thought before it catches you. One deep breath to create space between the noise and your truth. That's how change begins. That's how you reclaim your mind. So once you become aware of that negative thought, once you catch it trying to sneak into your mind like it always has, you've already taken the first big step. But the next part is where most people hesitate. See, awareness without action is just observation. And observation doesn't change your life. You've got to interrupt the pattern. Negative thoughts aren't just random. They're learned loops. You've probably been thinking some of them for years, maybe since childhood. I'm not smart enough. No one really cares. I always mess things up. These thoughts don't just pop in, they come with weight, momentum. And momentum needs friction to slow down. That friction is your interruption. The moment you catch that thought, you can't let it keep rolling. You need to stop it dead in its tracks. Right there, right then, you have to step in like a firm but calm leader and say, "No, not this one." You don't need to argue with it. You don't need to analyze it to death. You just need to interrupt it. And that interruption can be simple. A verbal cue, a phrase you say out loud or in your head, something like, "Nope," or "We're not doing that today," or "This isn't helping." You snap yourself out of the trance. And sometimes you need more than just words. You need a physical action. Clap your hands, tap your chest, stand up and move. It may sound strange, but physical cues snap the body out of the state it was in. Your physiology is tied to your psychology. You change one, you influence the other. You ever notice how when you're in a deep, negative spiral, your shoulders slump, your breathing gets shallow, your body closes in? Well, do the opposite. Stand tall, breathe deep, reset your stance. That shift disrupts the emotional energy tied to the thought. That's not just psychology, that's biology. The goal here isn't to avoid or deny the thought. That doesn't work. Denial just buries it deeper. The goal is to disrupt its rhythm. Think of it like a song playing in your head. A painful, repetitive tune. If you let it play, it takes over your mood, your energy, your day. But if you stop the song mid-track, pull the chord, hit pause, skip to another, you're no longer a passive listener. You're in control of the playlist. And don't underestimate the power of small interruptions. Even just saying, "I hear the thought, but I choose peace," or "I choose truth," or "I choose progress," creates a gap. And in that gap, there's freedom. That space is where you reclaim your choice. That space is where transformation begins. You've probably heard the phrase, "Name it to tame it." Well, I'd take it one step further, interrupt it to weaken it. Because the more times you interrupt a negative pattern, the more you weaken its hold on you. It's like a path in the woods. The more you walk it, the more defined it becomes. But if you stop walking it, if you choose a different path enough times, the old one fades. It becomes overgrown, harder to follow. That's how you rewire your brain. And you know what happens when you do this consistently? Your brain starts anticipating the interruption. It stops treating those negative thoughts like default truth. It hesitates. It adapts. Your mind becomes more responsive to you. It stops running on autopilot. That's where real confidence starts to build. Not because you never have a bad thought again, but because you know exactly what to do when one shows up. But let me be honest with you. This takes practice. It won't feel natural at first. In fact, at the beginning it might feel awkward. You might catch a negative thought and try to interrupt it, and then another one shows up right after. That's normal. The mind doesn't shift overnight. But every time you interrupt the pattern, you're breaking down that old mental muscle and building a new one. And here's the thing most people don't tell you. It doesn't matter how many times the thought comes back. What matters is that you keep interrupting it. That's strength. That's discipline. That's ownership. It's not about perfection. It's about progress, one interruption at a time. The moment you decide, I'm not letting this thought run me today, you're stepping into leadership over your own life. You're choosing to guide your mind instead of being dragged by it. And that choice, repeated over time, becomes your power. Because when you interrupt the pattern, you interrupt the story. And when you interrupt the story, you open the door to a new one. After you've caught the negative thought and interrupted it, what comes next is critical. Because if you just stop the thought, but don't replace it, your mind is going to go looking for something else to fill the silence. And if you're not intentional, it's going to reach for the same pattern, the same lie, the same old story. That's why the next step is about challenging the lie with truth. Let me be real with you. Most of the negative thoughts we deal with aren't random. They're stories we've been told or stories we've been repeating to ourselves for years. They sound like facts because they've been playing in the background for so long. But when you stop and actually look at them, they fall apart. Thoughts like, I always mess things up, or I'll never be enough, or I can't trust anyone. They might feel true, but feelings aren't facts. And this is the moment where you take that thought and put it on trial. You start asking questions. You slow it down and say, hold on, is this actually true? And not just true in the way it feels, but true in reality. Can I prove this thought? Is there real evidence? Or is this just fear dressed up as certainty? Because fear is slick. It will package a lie so well that you start defending it. You start living like it's real, even if it's never been true to begin with. This is where you've got to be brave enough to confront the thought, not just avoid it. And sometimes the truth will surprise you. That voice that says, you always fail, look back. Really look. You'll find times when you didn't. You'll remember moments you kept going, when you showed up, when you tried again. But negativity doesn't want you to remember those wins. It wants you to focus on the pain, the mistake, the one time you fell. So you've got to be louder than that voice. You've got to say, that's not the whole story. This part of the process, it's not about fake positivity. It's not about telling yourself everything's amazing when it isn't. It's about replacing a lie with something grounded, something real. If the thought is, I'm not good enough, maybe the truth is, I'm growing, I've come a long way. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. That's a truth you can stand on. That's a foundation you can build from. Your brain is always listening. Every word, every belief, it's taking notes. So when you speak truth out loud, when you replace that lie, you're sending a message to yourself, I'm not falling for that anymore. You're rewiring. You're resetting. And over time, that truth becomes stronger than the lie. But here's the thing, it might not feel true at first. That's okay. Truth isn't about what feels easy. It's about what's solid, what's real. And sometimes you have to speak it before you fully believe it. That's not being fake. That's being faithful to who you're becoming. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself in this moment is, what's the real truth here? Not the fear-based truth, not the emotional truth, the full picture. Maybe the real truth is, yes, I made mistakes, but I'm learning. I'm not defined by them. Or, yes, this is hard, but I've overcome harder. That kind of truth has weight. It shifts your posture. It gives you peace. Don't underestimate the power of one solid truth spoken in the middle of chaos. That one sentence, spoken with clarity, with intention, can stop a spiral. It can ground you. Because when your mind is going 100 miles an hour with doubt or fear, you don't need 10 affirmations. You need one truth to hold on to, and you get better at this. The more you practice calling out the lie, the faster you recognize it. It loses its grip, and the more you speak truth, the more your brain starts offering those truths naturally. Instead of defaulting to, I can't do this, your mind starts to whisper, you've done it before, you've got this. That's how you shift your mindset, not with hype, not with fluff, but with consistent, grounded truth, day by day, moment by moment. Because when you replace the lie with the truth, you're not just stopping a thought, you're changing your identity. You're reminding yourself who you really are. Catching the thought is one thing. Interrupting it is powerful. Replacing it with truth is life-changing. But none of it sticks without repetition. That's where most people fall off. They think one good moment, one positive shift, should carry them through. But your mindset doesn't change in a moment. It changes through practice. Daily, consistent, sometimes quiet, often uncomfortable practice. That's how the real transformation happens. You wouldn't go to the gym once and expect a new body. You wouldn't read one book and expect a whole education. But when it comes to our minds, we want that one breakthrough to do all the work. And it doesn't. What changes your thinking isn't just what you do once in a while, it's what you do every day. You have to train your mind like you train a muscle. Every rep matters. You've probably had days where you wake up and your thoughts are already trying to take you down. Before you even open your eyes fully, you're being hit with, I'm tired, I'm behind. What's the point? And if you don't have something to counter that, if you haven't built mental reps, you'll fold before the day even begins. That's why the daily work is non-negotiable. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it has to be consistent. Even 10 minutes in the morning can shift your entire internal world. Speak truth out loud. Write in a journal. Read something that realigns you. Meditate, pray, move your body. Whatever helps you reset. That's a rep. Every time you do it, you're strengthening a new pathway in your mind. You're saying, I don't live by default anymore. I live by design. And those mental reps aren't just for the morning. They're for the moments that catch you off guard. The meeting that doesn't go your way. The text that triggers insecurity. The unexpected rejection. Life will always throw jabs. That won't stop. But when you've been training, you don't panic. You don't spiral. You return to the tools you've practiced. You breathe. You center. You remember what's true. Think about how you want to feel when life gets hard. Calm, focused, unshaken. That doesn't just happen. That's built. And it's built in the small moments. When no one's watching. When it feels like it doesn't matter. When you'd rather scroll or complain or check out. That's when you lean in and say, no, this is where I get stronger. It's not about perfection. It's not about waking up every day with a flawless routine. Some days you'll forget. Some days you'll slip. That's part of the process. What matters is that you keep coming back, that you keep choosing to train, that you don't let one off day become your default again. And over time, the work compounds. Just like in the gym, each rep makes you stronger even if you don't see the progress right away. Here's what happens when you stick with it: your baseline shifts. What used to throw you off doesn't have the same power anymore. The negative thoughts might still show up, but you catch them faster. You interrupt them quicker. You replace them with truth without hesitation, because you've built that reflex. You've built that strength. And let me tell you, there is nothing more powerful than a person who has trained their mind to stay steady no matter what. That kind of peace, that kind of resilience, it's not accidental. It's earned. And the way you earn it is by showing up for yourself every single day, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. The real growth doesn't come from the hype. It comes from the habit. It's built in the quiet, ordinary, intentional moments. And those moments are available to you every single day. You don't have to wait. You don't need anyone's permission. You just need the discipline to show up again and again. Because the more mental reps you put in, the less those negative thoughts run your life. And the more you start living it on your terms, your mind can't heal in the same environment that broke it. That's something most people overlook when they're trying to break free from negative thinking. You can do all the inner work, catch the thought, interrupt it, replace it, and train for it. But if you're still surrounding yourself with noise, with toxicity, with constant negativity, then you're making the process 10 times harder than it needs to be. Your environment matters. Your inputs matter. What you let into your mind, on purpose or by default, shapes the thoughts you have to fight later. Let me ask you something. If you filled your body with junk every day, fast food, soda, sugar, and then tried to run a marathon, how would that go? You'd crash halfway through. Not because you weren't strong, but because your system was overloaded. Your mind works the same way. If you're constantly feeding it drama, gossip, chaos, fear, comparison, what kind of thoughts do you think are going to rise to the surface when things get quiet? And here's the tricky part. We don't always notice what's shaping us until it's already working its way into our thinking. Maybe it's that social media scroll, those 5-second clips filled with outrage and perfection. Maybe it's that one friend who never has anything good to say, who always brings the conversation back to criticism or complaining. Or maybe it's that show you keep watching, entertaining, sure, but always drenched in dysfunction. It adds up, all of it. Bit by bit, it slips under your skin and starts to color the way you see your world, the way you see yourself. You've got to start asking, what am I allowing into my mental space every day? Because if you're working so hard to stop negative thoughts, but everything around you is reinforcing them, you're fighting an uphill battle. You've got to take ownership of what you consume, not just food or entertainment, but conversations, music, the energy of the people around you. Those are all inputs, and your output, your thoughts, your words, your emotions, will reflect that. This doesn't mean you have to cut everyone off or live in a bubble. But it does mean you need to be intentional. If someone in your life is constantly negative, set a boundary. If your feed is making you feel anxious, inadequate, or irritated, clean it up, unfollow, mute, protect your peace. If your mornings start with noise and tension, choose silence instead. Choose stillness. Let your mind breathe. And don't just eliminate the negative. Replace it with something nourishing. Feed your mind what it needs, not just what's easy. Listen to things that speak to your strength. Read things that challenge and uplift you. Spend time around people who build, not break. The kind of people who can hold space for your struggle, but still call out your greatness. That's fuel. That's the kind of input that makes your thoughts stronger, not weaker. You are the gatekeeper of your mental environment. No one else gets to choose what you allow in. You can't control every circumstance, but you can control what you seek, what you stay close to, and what you tolerate. That's your responsibility. That's your power. And if you're wondering, but isn't this just avoiding reality? No, this is reality. Choosing your inputs isn't denial, it's discipline. You're not ignoring the world, you're managing how much of it you let into your spirit. You're not running from truth, you're filtering for truth. You're not living in delusion, you're living with intention. Because let me tell you, when you start guarding your inputs, your mental clarity skyrockets. Suddenly, you're not waking up with anxiety that came from someone else's drama. You're not walking around carrying weight that doesn't even belong to you. You start noticing when thoughts enter your mind, and instead of feeling overwhelmed by them, you feel equipped to deal with them. That's the goal. Not just to survive the day, but to walk through it with peace and power. And that kind of walk only happens when you've done the work to create an environment that supports your mindset, not sabotages it. So take inventory, get honest. Start choosing what serves your mind and letting go of what doesn't. Because when you guard your inputs, you protect your peace. And when you protect your peace, your mind becomes a place where negativity can't survive. At the end of the day, you can have all the tools: awareness, pattern interruption, truth replacement, daily discipline, even a clean environment. But if you don't know why you're doing it, it's going to be hard to keep going. That's where purpose comes in, because when you anchor yourself in purpose, everything changes. It gives meaning to the fight. It gives fuel to the discipline. It turns resistance into resilience. See, negative thoughts are loud. They're relentless. They show up uninvited and try to set the tone for your entire day. And if you don't have a deeper reason to rise above them, you'll default to letting them win. But when you have a purpose, when you remember who you're becoming and why you can't afford to stay stuck, those same thoughts lose their weight. They might still show up, but they don't carry the same power because your focus is bigger than the moment. Maybe your purpose is your family. Maybe it's becoming the kind of parent you never had. Maybe it's starting that business you've been dreaming about. Maybe it's healing the parts of you that were never given a voice. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be yours. And when you wake up and remember that purpose, you start to realize that entertaining those old lies, those old thought patterns, is just too expensive. You can't afford to give your energy to things that keep you small. Purpose pulls you forward. It gives you direction when emotions try to drag you sideways. You can be overwhelmed and still move forward. You can be tired and still show up, because purpose isn't about how you feel. It's about what you value. It's about what matters to you more than your temporary emotions. And I'll tell you what I've learned. Purpose doesn't erase negative thoughts. It gives you something more powerful to focus on. It reminds you that your thoughts are not the main character. You are. And when you know what you're fighting for, you stop letting every thought become a battle. Some thoughts don't even deserve your attention anymore. There will be days when the old stories creep back in. The thoughts that say, "You're not qualified," or "It's too late," or "This isn't working." But when your purpose is clear, you'll be able to look at those thoughts and say, "That might be how I feel right now, but that's not where I'm going." That clarity creates confidence, not a loud, arrogant kind of confidence, but a quiet, steady kind, the kind that says, "I'm still in this, I haven't quit, I'm not done yet." Purpose also reminds you that you're not alone. The pain you've experienced, the battles you've fought, the thoughts you've had, they're not just yours. Someone else needs what you're learning. Someone else is waiting for your breakthrough to give them hope for theirs. So every time you choose to keep going, you're not just helping yourself, you're creating impact that ripples out further than you know. And look, you don't need to have your whole life figured out to live with purpose. You don't need a 10-year plan. You just need a direction, a reason, something that reminds you why this work matters. Because this is work. Rewiring your thoughts, protecting your peace, choosing truth, it takes effort. But when it's tied to something that matters deeply to you, that effort becomes worthwhile. Purpose also helps you forgive yourself. On the days when you fall short, when you lose the battle with your thoughts, when you slip into old patterns, your purpose reminds you to get back up. Because you're not doing this for perfection. You're doing this for progress, for growth, for a life that's driven by intention, not reaction. So if you're in a season right now where you feel stuck in your head, where your thoughts feel too heavy to carry, I want you to pause, breathe, and ask yourself one question: why does this matter to me? What am I fighting for? Who am I becoming? And once you answer that, let that answer lead your next step. Because when your life is anchored in purpose, negativity has no place to land.